This is
First Amendment Friday with Larson.
Welcome back to the Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm glad to get to your phone calls and your emails. You know, consider what's happened in the last couple of weeks. You've had the largest tax increase in Oregon history, and then you have the governor come out and say, I'm encouraging Oregonians not to let Oregonians vote on whether or not that tax hike, at least the gasoline tax part of it, goes through. So I thought I'd get a couple of the decision makers with me. Oregon State Senator Bruce Starr from Dundee and Oregon Representative Ed Diehl. We've got both chambers represented, and we're practically to a quorum at this point. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be on with you, Lars.
And I know we're going to have to sort the two of you out because you're on at the same time, but let me start with Bruce Starr. Bruce, you want to put this to a public vote, don't you?
Absolutely. Oregonians deserve the right to vote on this. We presented that option on the Senate floor. We laid on the floor a referral, and they could have referred this vote or the bill to the voters, without us having to go through the work of getting signatures. But of course, the Democrats and the governor have no interest in having Oregonians vote. So Representative Diehl and myself, and hopefully we expect thousands of Oregonians will step up and say, our voice matters in this conversation, and we want to vote on it. So that's what we intend to give them the opportunity to do.
Well, let me ask Representative Ed Diehl. Ed, what should Oregonians make of a member of the Democrat Party, Tina Kotek, saying, think twice before you sign that signature to a petition to put this to a public vote? So you've got a Democrat Party member who's saying don't engage in democracy and ask the people. What should people make of the governor with that kind of message?
I think they should be outraged. And I think people in Oregon need to remember, we put the referendum process in place in 1902. We were the first state in the country to do a referendum. And you know why we have this process? Because Oregonians do not trust the political machine. So she's trying to have the political machine ramrod this through, despite the will of the people. I think it's outrageous, and it's time for the people to speak up.
Well, let me ask Senator Starr. So, Senator Starr, the easy conclusion, but I think it's also the right conclusion, the only reason the Democrats don't want the public to vote on this is they know to a fair certainty the public will say no. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely correct. And it's proven through this whole process. We had thousands of Oregonians that commented on these bills. I think it was 5,000 plus against and a couple hundred in favor of it. Oregonians have made their voice heard, and clearly they're opposed to this. The Democrats absolutely do not want the public to have an opportunity to weigh in this because I think Oregonians, and they believe Oregonians, there's no doubt in my mind Oregonians are going to say no. We don't support this massive new tax.
Okay, let me ask Representative Diehl. The governor portrays this as putting lives at risk because if you gather the signatures within the 90 days and it's referred to the ballot, then the gas tax at least goes on hold until after there's a vote, and the vote wouldn't happen until, I guess, sometime next year. So she's saying this puts lives at risk. Is the governor admitting right out in front of God and everybody that she can't manage a department well enough to call up the head of ODOT and say, look, you're not getting the gas tax money right now. You might never get the gas tax money. So figure out how to get the job done with the money you've already got. Is that what she's admitting?
She is presenting this false choice that if you don't pass a tax, we can't maintain our roads. And that's just absolutely not true. And there's Democrats that'll tell you the same thing. They know it's a false choice because there is money. It's a matter of how we prioritize it. And really, we know we need to do something, Lars. We want the Democrats to come back to the table and let's figure out how we can do this without raising taxes because Oregonians don't want their taxes raised. But the number one thing they want in transportation is maintained roads. The fact that she's saying that means her priorities are way out of whack.
Okay, so Senator Starr, the clearest way to do that, and again, I'm outside the process, you gentlemen are inside the process, is the clearest way to do that to say to ODOT, we are going to legally unfreeze the money that you've committed to projects, some of which are not going to happen, like the Rose Quarter project at this couple of $2 billion. Even the Interstate Bridge, I think, is functionally dead. Let's unfreeze the money you've committed to that. Those projects aren't going to happen anyway. And then you can use the money for the things you need right now, and we'll worry about the Interstate Bridge and the Rose Quarter later on. They can be dependent on iffy forms of funding like tolling or gas taxes.
Yeah, Lars, you're absolutely right. We, again, we put an alternative. The Republicans put an alternative that would have done just that, would have freed up the department to move money within their agency. Just like families do when times are tight, you pay for the things that are absolutely necessary. That's what state government should do. That's what ODOT should do. And that was the alternative that Republicans put on the table that the Democrats rejected. At the end of the day, Oregonians are going to have their say. We get out there the signatures. The governor is either going to try to do this unilaterally, but the smarter thing to do would be to call the Republicans to the table, and we do this in a constructive, bipartisan way, where we don't have to raise taxes on Oregonians. Maybe we don't spend money on DEI. Maybe we don't spend money on electric vehicle charging stations. Those are less important than, let's say, plowing the roads so that folks can get across the mountains in the wintertime.
Well, in fact, I've got one of my favorite objects of derision in ODOT is this. You have a federal government with a civil rights division. You've got an Oregon Department of Justice with a civil rights division. Is there any good reason for ODOT to have its own pet civil rights division with literally dozens and dozens of staffers and attorneys?
No.
It's
a waste of money.
Who wants to answer that one, Dad?
Well, yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's a complete waste of money, and it shows how misplaced the priorities are. What's more important to the governor, the Civil Rights Division or plowing the roads? Apparently, the Civil Rights Division, because that's a change that obviously most Oregonians would agree with. They want the roads plowed first. So it's just misplaced priorities.
Okay, so anything final to say, Bruce? How can you get the word out, and what do you want to do to get the word out to people to sign this petition, get the required signatures, and put the whole thing on freeze until the voters get a vote?
So there's one thing. The governor can hold this bill for 30 days. So if this is really under Oregon law, she can sign it today, or she can hold it. If this is really an emergency, why isn't she signing the bill? Well, because she wants to make it more difficult for Oregonians to have their voice heard. So that's an issue. But folks can go to notaxor.com. There's a landing page there where we can gather their information. There's an opportunity to contribute to help us fund this effort. But that's where people can go right now to get basically on the list. So once the petitions are available, we can get them in their hands, and we can turn this around with the help of Oregonians.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much. That's Ed Diehl, member of the House of Representatives in Salem, and Bruce Starr, member of the Oregon Senate. You've got a governor who says, I don't want to sign the bill right now, because if I sign the bill right now, why, they can start gathering signatures on it, and she doesn't want that to happen because she knows that Oregonians will vote this thing down. That's why the Democrats don't believe in democracy. It's First Amendment Friday, and you're listening to The Lars Larson Show.